The fish are actually made up of 5 different classes. The earliest of them are the jawless and jawed fishes, evolving later. Earlier forms were similar to lancelets in that they were suspension feeders, but the trend to active feeders ensued over time. Vertebrates differentiate themselves from the tunicates and lancelets by having a cranium and distinctive sensory structures such as eyes. The oldest vertebrate discovered so far is Hagfish, which is from China, aged around 530 million years ago during the Cambrian period. There are 5 extant classes of fish today. Superclass Agnatha are the jawless fishes, which include the classes Myzini, known as the hagfishes, and Petromyzonta, known as the lampreys. The gnathosomes include the jawed fishes and technically all other vertebrates. Jaws are thought to derive from the first pair of gill arches supporting the gills of jawless fishes. Jawed fishes typically have paired fins with pectoral fins on the anterior of the body and pelvic at the posterior region of the body. Jaws allow vertebrates to grab onto their prey, allowing for a more active lifestyle. The gnathosomes can be divided into 2 clades. First is class Chondrichthyes, which are the cartilaginous fishes, including sharks, rays, and ratfish, all of which contain a skeleton mostly made of cartilage. Then there's superclass Osteichthyes, which includes the bony fishes, which can further be split into 2 classes, class Actinopterygii, or ray-finned fishes, or class Sarcopterygii, the lobe-finned fishes. Let's get started with this is the most ancestral of all vertebrates and the only vertebrate animals that do not actually contain a vertebral column. Only 70 species of this eel-like scavenger are known. These are also known as the slime eels for their massive slimy secretions when they're threatened to help prevent predators from grabbing them. They are benthic predators, or scavengers of marine environments at the bottom of the ocean. They spend their time eating carcasses from the inside of the animal out. The eyes are rudimentary, and they rely on sensory barbels to locate food. The gills, which were feeding structures in lancelets and tunicates, are now used as respiration, since the mouth of these animals can separate food from non-food. Hagfish have a cartilaginous skull and skeleton and retains the notochord as adults. They are the only vertebrate without a vertebrae. Remember, vertebrates are now identified by having a cranium. It's likely that we need to rename the group craniates instead of vertebrates. This next group of jawless fishes that come out of our nightmares is called Petromyzonta. There are 40 species of lampreys, and just like the hagfish, they have no bottom jaw. But unlike the hagfish, they do possess a vertebrae, and they have eye muscles to move eyes, as well as a true cerebellum. The cerebellum is used for balance, coordination, and basic homeostatic features, which is a portion of the brain, by the way. The vertebrae protects a dorsal nerve cord with 10 pairs of nerves extending out of the cord. Although they lack paired appendages, they do have 1 or 2 dorsal fins. These animals are predatory, latching onto fish and using their mouths to suck blood and bodily fluids. Some biologists classify them as ectoparasites, but because they remove themselves after feeding, like leeches, it's still up for debate. It's quite possible we can classify them as a predator. Lampreys live in marine, coastal, and freshwater areas worldwide, except the tropics and the polar regions. Lampreys are dioecious and have external fertilization. The larvae look similar to lancelets, where they act as filter feeders in rivers and streams. We can split the gnathosome fish into 3 classes. The first are known as the Cartilaginous Fishes, class Chondrichthyes. There are over 1,000 species of cartilaginous fishes, and these include sharks, rays, skates, sawfishes, chimeras, and ratfishes. Cartilaginous fishes are among the oldest of extant gnathostomes, going back 370 million years ago. with body plans that really haven't evolved that much. As the name suggests, there are no bones in this group, but hardened cartilage instead. The cartilage can be hardened by granules of calcium carbonate. These are mostly living in marine environments, with some sharks and stingrays living in freshwater. They are mostly carnivorous and scavengers, using their teeth to grab and tear live prey. Larger cartilaginous fishes like manta rays, whale sharks, and basking sharks are filter feeders. We need to take a sidebar and talk about parental care in the animal kingdom, because members of class Chondrichthyes actually display all three types of parental care, and all groups have internal fertilization. Some sharks are what we call viviparous, where the eggs hatch inside the mother and the mother provides direct nourishment and live births. Placental mammals, that's what we are, have mastered this technique. Some sharks are oviparous, in which they lay eggs outside of the body. Many of these egg cases are called mermaid's purses because they feel leather-like. There is yolk to provide nourishment while the baby shark is inside. In addition, most fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and egg-laying mammals do this. This last one is a bit of a hybrid of the two. So some sharks are what we call ovoviviparous, where the eggs hatch inside the mother and the yolk feeds the embryo. These sharks are born live. Note, the nourishment only comes from the yolk sac, not the mother directly. So in essence, they are raised inside the mother like a viviparous animal, but they don't have direct nourishment. They are given a yolk sac just like in oviparous animals. There are over 500 species of rays and skates, most of which are harmless to people. Shark attacks are extremely rare, at less than a dozen per year, and most are completely preventable. For example, never swim while bleeding, never wear shiny jewelry where there's sharks, or in general, if sharks are present, just get out of the water. Sharks have dorsally ventrally flattened body, a heterocaudal tail, meaning that the lobes at the end are uneven, and paired pectoral and pelvic fins, as well as exposed gills. The exposed gills are called an elasma branch. Sharks have placoid scales, which look like miniature teeth and feel like sandpaper when touched. It is thought that the shark teeth evolved from a row of these scales in the mouth. Sharks have a good sense of smell and can detect electromagnetic fields by special electroreceptors called ampulla of Lorenzi. Most fish have a lateral line system, which is a series of scales that are sensitive to vibrations in the water. Basically, this is how these organisms hear. Most sharks require constant movement in order to undergo respiration. They have no mechanism to maintain buoyancy except for squalene oil in the liver, which is less dense than water. Some cartilaginous fishes can pump water over their gills by special muscles in the mouth. Stingrays and skates are even more dorsal ventrally flattened, with pectoral fins fused to the head and gill slits on the ventral surface. Sawfishes have a large rostrum lined with teeth to appear like a double-edged saw. This rostrum contains electrosensitive receptors. Another group of cartilaginous fishes are the chimeras, also known as the rat fishes. They lack scales altogether, and teeth are modified to be grinding plates used to feed on invertebrates. Instead of elasma branch gills, rat fishes have an operculum covering the gills, and many have iridescent skin. In other words, they're quite shiny. Next is superclass Osteichthyes, which are called the Bony Fishes, and is actually split into two separate classes. With 30,000 species, most fish are in this group, and they are the largest group of vertebrates on the planet. Bony fish contain ossified skeletons made with specialized bone cells called osteocytes, which are also found in other vertebrates. This is the origin of our skeleton. Bony fish have overlapping scales that secrete mucus to reduce drag and help with osmoregulation. They also have a lateral line system to detect vibrations in the water. The gills are used for respiration and are covered by an operculum. The gills can also be used to trap food and prevent its escape. Buoyancy is achieved by the swim bladder, which is a gas-filled organ that helps fish maintain buoyancy. Most fish use osmosis to deliver gases to and from the blood vessels into the swim bladder to fill and empty it. Lungfishes actually come up to the surface of water and gulp air to fill their swim bladder. It is thought that land vertebrates' lungs derive from swim bladders of a lungfish ancestor. This is class Actinopterygii, one of the two classes of bony fishes. These are known as the ray-finned fishes and are called such due to having bony rays in the fins of the animals. They represent half of all vertebrates in existence and are found in aquatic habitats worldwide. Class Sarcopterygii are known as the lobe-finned fishes due to the fins lacking rays but having fleshy lobes supported by bones, similar to those found in ancient tetrapods. Tetrapods are all four-legged vertebrates, including us. This class is not very large, but consists of lungfishes and coelacanths. Coelacanths were thought to be extinct until one was accidentally caught by a fisherman in South Africa. This is an example of a living fossil of an organism that has hardly evolved over time and still looks like the fossilized ancestors. The story of tetrapods most likely began with the lungfish that had a fully functional humerus bone. And that's the topic of our next video, Class Amphibia.